Whenever a director is assigned to work on a film, the film will then carry a piece of them. For some filmmakers, their touches can form a common through line throughout their work. Oftentimes, some major themes start appearing in their first film. An example would be Quentin Tarantino's Reservoir Dogs, which contains the themes of revenge, redemption, and deception, all of which would be built upon in his future works. However, some filmmakers take their major films as a way to reflect on what had gotten them there, a film that serves as the background before their thesis. My favorite example of this comes from director Hayao Miyazaki with his 1979 directorial debut, Lupin III: The Castle of Cagliostro. When taken into the larger context of Miyazaki's filmography, Cagliostro is the main outlier. It is one of his few films to follow a male lead, one of two to not be produced and released under the Studio Ghibli banner, and the only one to be part of a longer-running franchise. This franchise is Lupin III. The series itself follows the titular Lupin III, who is a notorious thief, always being chased by his main adversary, Zenigata. Miyazaki had previously served as the co-showrunner for the latter half of the original series, the appropriately named Lupin Part 1. Although it would be an initial failure, it would find an audience in late-night syndication. This would cause a new series, Lupin Part 2, and a theatrical film, The Mystery of Mamo, to be released years after the original series' conclusion. Both would prove to be successful, however. In the case of Mamo, its success would cause a new film to be greenlit 3 days after its release. After some scripting and directing issues, Miyazaki would be brought on board to write and direct. He would later call Cagliostro a culmination of all his TV work, which is illustrated with various plot beats, actions, and shots from the first series being echoed in the film. As an overview, The Castle of Cagliostro follows the titular Lupin III joined by his companion Jigen as they attempt to uncover an infamous ring of counterfeiting, which is located in the small sovereign nation of Cagliostro. In their pursuits, they find Clarice, a girl whose hand is being forced into marriage by the leader of the nation, the Count of Cagliostro. Due to a previous connection with Clarice, Lupin attempts to get her rescued from her predicament. With the help of other Lupin series mainstays, he sets out on his caper to get Clarice freed and find out the secret of the counterfeit bills. From the opening of the film, we get a sense of calmness. It's a wordless opening, documenting the plan and execution of Lupin and Jigen to enter Cagliostro. It sets the groundwork for an older and more experienced Lupin, one who is in the twilight years of his career. Before the third act of the film, we're given a monologue in which Lupin recollects how he's ashamed of what he used to be a thief. This section fittingly uses reanimated clips from the first Lupin series. Furthermore, his struggles are illustrated throughout his relationship with Clarice. Lupin frequently puts himself in harm's way to help her. In the context of the film, within Lupin's early career, he had tried to rob Cagliostro's counterfeit printing rooms, but he was met with failure. This failure almost cost him his life, but a younger Clarice had found him and helped him survive. Clarice is only 17 years old in the film. She's on the cusp of being an adult, and Lupin wants to try and save her to help her get her life back, possibly as a way to repay her for helping save his. In the final scene of the film, Clarice confesses her love for Lupin, but he is distraught and dismissive towards it. In context, Clarice represents his way out, a way for him to leave his old life behind, to trade in his hardships for something easier. But he doesn't do it, not only because he knows it would be immoral for him to do it, but because it isn't what he wants. In the film's final moments, Jigen tells Lupin,
"Good stay if you want it."
But he doesn't want to leave. He's content with where he is and with all he's learned, and he's ready to enter the next act of his life. So the film ends with Lupin and Jigen driving away from Zenigata, ready for their next adventure. With all that analysis, one question remains. How does this relate to Miyazaki? With Miyazaki helping to write and being the sole director of the film, he wanted to try and create a bookend for the never-ending media franchise, but in the process he put himself into it. In his own life, he finds himself into a similar situation to Lupin. He's about to move from TV, something often seen as a lesser medium, to the more prestigiously seen medium of film. He uses Lupin as a stand-in for his fears and aspirations, a repository for all he's learned in the early stages of his career. Clarice, in my personal opinion, represents the last chance for him to leave the animation industry behind, his last chance to choose something that would have been easier for him, but he can't bear to do it. He views leaving animation behind as immoral. With my analysis, there exists one issue, and that's that this wasn't Miyazaki's last foray with Lupin III. He directed 2 episodes of Lupin Part 2 a year after Cagliostro's release. So the question then becomes, does it make everything I've mentioned void? I don't believe so. You can make a bold, illustrious statement and not be able to fulfill it immediately. Even if you have to go back to make some schlock, you can still make what you want to make at a later point. Sometimes you just have to say that you're going to do something and have faith in yourself that you can fulfill it at a later time. It's all about risk, and if you don't have any, what's the point in trying?